You are uniquely qualified to take care of you. You know your needs. You know when you're hungry, thirsty, tired, or stressed. Sometimes we ignore these needs. Sometimes we judge ourselves for having them. But you know yourself. It can be hard not to listen to all of the outside pressure to measure up. Sometimes quiet reflection, prayer, or meditation can help you listen to yourself. Sometimes all it takes is a deep breath. Maybe placing your hand on your chest or your belly and attending to yourself. Here, I'm going to need to back up. It got a little fast. So, I got behind and then I couldn't catch up. So,
You're good.
there we go. We'll just start there.
Yeah.
You are uniquely qualified to take care of you. You know your needs. You know when you're thirsty, hungry, tired, stressed. Sometimes we ignore these needs. Sometimes we judge ourselves for having them. But you know yourself. It can be hard not to listen to all of the outside pressure to measure up. Sometimes quiet reflection, prayer, or meditation can help you listen to yourself. Sometimes all it takes is a deep breath, maybe placing a hand on your chest or your belly and just attending to yourself. Whether you call it intuition, a gut feeling, or your truth, when we quiet distraction and pay attention, we can notice what we need. The great news about this is that wherever you go, you take you with you. You are always here for yourself. You show up for yourself every day. Sometimes it is easy to get overwhelmed, and we can forget that all we have to do is today, and that tomorrow, the tomorrow's version of ourselves will show up and do tomorrow. It can be hard to trust that we will continue to show up for ourselves, but can you give yourself a moment to just be still and quiet and ask yourself what you need? Maybe you need to extend some validation to yourself. Maybe you need to give yourself some time and space to assess the situation before you and your resilience account. Or maybe you need some support. Maybe you could use some self-care or coping. At one point over the last year, I became so overwhelmed with stress that someone said to me, "Avery, you are saturated." It was so true. I was saturated with stress. I had no more room for anything else. I was drowning. I was totally overwhelmed with emotion. In times like these, when we are saturated with emotion, it is really helpful to have some options available that can give the big emotions time to pass a bit. The first thing to do when you are feeling flooded with emotion is to take a deep breath. This is something that we all hear about a lot, but we may not try it because it sounds so simple. Let's try it now and see if it does anything for us. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Take a breath that is deep enough that you can feel it with the hand that is on your belly. Let's try it. Try breathing in for 4 counts and then out for 4 counts. Just breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your breath is always available to you. You have to breathe anyway, and intentional, mindful breathing is always here for you too. Another thing that really helps is to drink a big glass of water. I like to just fill a tumbler with water from the tap so it's not too cold. If you drink a large glass of water slowly and all at once, just gulp, 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 it really slows down your breathing and gives you a little space to let the emotions settle a bit. An added bonus is that you get hydrated, which can make you feel better too. Movement is another thing that really helps. Sometimes we think of movement as something that is only available to us in an exercise class or a gym, or when we are working out. But movement is always available to us. It can be something simple, like just clenching and releasing your fist. Let's try that one together. Make a fist. Focus on the physical feeling of tension. Hold it for a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. Focus on the feeling. Notice how your hand feels more relaxed than when you were holding it like a fist. If it's helpful to you, you can do this with every muscle group in your body. Your feet, your legs, your stomach, your shoulders, your arms, your face. Just tense the muscles. Hold, release, and pay attention to the different sensations. Depending on where you are and what is going on around you, other movement may be available to you too. Maybe you could get up and walk around the room for a couple of seconds. Maybe you could touch your toes or stretch. Maybe you have time to go for a quick walk outside or do a couple of jumping jacks or push-ups. Movement is great because it gets us back into our body. and our body only exists in the present. We can do almost anything in the present. When we get back into our body, we can start taking life 1 second at a time. If you're still feeling inundated with emotion, remind yourself that the current level of intensity will pass, and that it may be helpful to find a distraction to pass the time. Maybe you could watch something, read something. Maybe you could write about how you're feeling or take a shower. Anything that will allow a few more minutes to pass. You may also allow yourself to have a good cry. The fastest and most effective way to dump the stress hormone cortisol is to cry. Sometimes it is helpful to remember that we have permission to cry, to just give ourselves a minute to feel it. Once a little time has passed, the wave of big emotion will likely pass too. If you notice that you are feeling waves of big emotion often, it can be helpful to keep track. You can journal about your feelings and write down what you feel and when. You can even rate your emotion on a 0 to 10 scale, where 0 is totally calm and 10 is total loss of control. Rating on a 0 to 10 scale can help us to remember that emotions aren't all or nothing. You aren't totally calm or totally out of control. It isn't 0 or 10. There are steps in between. Rating can also help you decide what kind of strategies you need to help you cope. If you are feeling very upset and approaching the loss of control level, you may have to leave the situation in order to get yourself calm. However, if you are only mildly frustrated, you may be able to stay put and get yourself calmer by taking a few breaths. If you rate over a week or so, you can begin to see patterns. Maybe you are always really frustrated in the mornings, or maybe you are always very calm after you get back from a walk. These patterns can help you as you structure your days going forward. If you are always really frustrated in the mornings and always very calm when you get back from a walk, could you wake up 30 minutes earlier and get a quick walk in before you start your morning?